Back to the ETF Inspector. It's Friday, June 13th, payday. All right. This video is for, I actually forgot to set myself up like usual, the individual income strategy funds, also called the YieldMax covered call ETFs. And we have the 7 listed in the title: AMDY, AMZY, APLY, FBY, GOOY, MSFO, and NFLY. I picked those because the biggest ones retire on dividends covers, and then so these are the next 7. Well, at the time that I started covering, that were the next biggest, right? They're all over 100 million, some getting close to 300 million. So let's see. We'll click on GOOY, because they are the one that we got our paycheck from this Friday. Right? They declared 39.78 cents per share, declared it on Wednesday, ex-date Thursday, and record date and payable date Friday. If you go there, you can see the most recent distribution was 87.7% return of capital and 12.3% income. We want to get that to be income, so we're not taking away from the NAV. But so let's see. If you didn't see the stock market today, it was a bloodbath for the most part. Mostly, I guess they're related to the tension and attacks between Israel and Iran. So we'll take a look at our funds. As you saw in the thumbnail, practically everything was red. Somehow we got a green day out of NFLY, even though Netflix dropped. So let's see how our YieldMax funds did in comparison to the underlying stock. AMD and AMDY tied at 1.97% decrease. Amazon and AMZY practically tied, 0.53 and 0.56. Apple and APLY had a bad day, lost 2.28% compared to the 1.38% decrease in Apple. Not sure why that happens. Sometimes I can explain the differences and why they don't trade together, but so we'll look. Meta lost 1.51, while the YieldMax fund only lost 1.31, so YieldMax won that one. Google lost 0.59%, while GOOY only lost 0.08, so again, YieldMax won that. So the reason a lot of times where the stock goes down but the fund doesn't go down as much is because maybe they had options that were in the money that they had sold, so they were going to be having to pay a large amount of money to close them out. Well, if the stock drops and it drops them out of the money, now all of a sudden they're not having to spend those tens or hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars to close out. So that actually would be why the fund would do better than the underlying when the underlying drops. That's one situation where that happens. Microsoft lost 0.82, while MSFO lost 0.11. So again, it was better to be in MSFO. And finally, Netflix lost about a quarter, while NFLY gained about 0.5%. So again, better to be in the fund. Not that that's financial advice, so don't get your financial advice from a guy making videos in his basement 11 o'clock at night on a Friday. All right, ETF Inspector, if you're not already a subscriber, please consider it. We're up to 756, just so you're aware, right? These videos and all the work behind them, I'm probably putting 2.5 hours a day in, and you actually don't even have the opportunity to start making money on YouTube until you have at least 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time. So doing all this for free right now. I like it though, so it's not that big a deal. All right, Friday is rolling day, so if you're familiar with options, they don't let things go to expiration for the most part. They definitely don't let anything get assigned. So on Friday, they're rolling. They're buying to close, regardless of whether they're winning or losing the trade, and they're selling to open the new trade for the following week. They sell these out 1 week at a time. All right, so for the funds we cover, we had trades for AMZY, trades for GOOY, trades for NFLY, trades for MSFO, I don't know how to say that, MSFO, and trades for AMDY, AMDY. I believe APLY and FBY, the Apple and Meta funds have already swapped to the new week earlier this week. All right, so we'll take a look. We'll just start at the beginning. We'll go alphabetical order. AMDY. So they went ahead and closed out their 128s and sold 119s for next week. All right, closed this Friday the 13th, opened the 20th, and went ahead and closed out also their 122s and sold 120s. All in all, a profit of $1,246,000. So that was a nice big win on that one. But earlier in the week, the stock got out of hand, and so they had to close them out. So they lost $1.5 million. So they basically lost $300,000 trading this week. All right, we're not gonna go into the options in and out of the money right now. This is just the Friday roll, kind of letting you know how the week finished. I will do a week look ahead video, most likely on Sunday, which we'll talk about the options moving forward, percent in and out of the money, trading ranges we're looking for, and guesstimates for it'll be Group B next week. All right, so big picture, synthetics worth $11 million. That is, they sell puts and buy calls at the same price, further dated out, and then they use that. That's a synthetic position. That's like owning the shares, and that allows you to sell options off of it, just like if you own the shares. So that's the way they run these funds. And their next declaration is 12 days, so it's not this coming week, but the week after. There's $146 million being managed in the fund and 19 million outstanding shares. AMD closed at $116.16 and AMDY closed at $7.47. If you've never seen the videos before, the net assets and the NAV don't actually update till the next day because the trades come out after close, like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening, and then the updated holdings comes out the following morning. So I will then download everything tomorrow morning. Everything will be updated. So the only time you ever get that chance to reset is when you have the weekend or you have a non-trading days. All right. Amazon, they had trades on Thursday and Friday that we haven't talked about yet. Again, if you're new here, I gray out things once we've talked about them in a previous video. So on the 9th, we talked about that already. They lost $800,000. But then on Thursday and Friday, between closing things out and rolling them to next week, some of it yesterday, the rest of it today, closed out our 215s and sold 217.50s for next week. All right, paying 6 cents to close them out. That's a win. Yesterday they were paying 8 cents to close things out. Again, that's a win. Selling for $1.50, roughly $1.32, $1.36. So profiting roughly $550,000 and roughly $680,000 on these 2 days. All right, we look at Amazon. They've got a monster synthetic. It's come down, right, because this was a rough week. But even with that, it's a 185 strike price for July 18th. It's currently worth almost $38 million. If they were to cash that out and distribute it, it's worth $2.20 per share based on 17 million outstanding shares. But just understand that's not going to happen. For starters, they cash it out, then they need money to start the next one. So that's where a portion of that will go. And then also, they save for a rainy day. If they make, X, they're not paying out X. They got to hold some back, especially if you've been in this before and you've seen sometimes you're getting paid more than they made. Sometimes they don't make money and they still pay out. So that's how that kind of evens out. Amazon closed at 212.10 and AMZY at 15.84. Let's just keep moving. APLY, they went ahead and rolled everything yesterday, so they closed for 6 cents, 6 cents, right? And then they sold to open for $9. And oh no, this was adding to the synthetic, because more people bought into the fund, so they added to their synthetic position. Then they rolled what they had and then sold some more to go along with the addition. All in all, a profit of $26,000. Not much. APLY is struggling this month. Their synthetic is worth negative 6.8, so they're gonna have to pay to close this out, and it's coming up next week. So the first portion of it, they're gonna have to close this out next week. The second one they've got out till August 15th, and that's a 200 strike. That one's basically even money right now. So all the loss is in the current one that's about to get closed out next week. All right. They've got 19 days till their next declaration date. That would be July 2nd. Apple's sitting at $196.45, and APLY's at $12.45. There's $130 million being managed in the fund, and a little over 10 million outstanding shares. All right, FBY for Meta, again, another one that went ahead and rolled yesterday. So they had a good week, right? On last Friday was their last time rolling to start these positions. Then they didn't have to touch them all week long, and they rolled them yesterday, paying 50 cents to close them out. You can see they collected $5.42 per share, 100 shares per contract, 1,890 contracts. And then also the day before, $5.66 for 610. So they sold these for $5.66 and bought them back for 50 cents. That's a big win, right? Collected 345, paid out 30, so a $315 difference that they got to keep. And then as well, right, they collected $1 million on these 1,890, and they paid $39,000 to close them out. So got to keep almost $1 million there. So all said and done, on the roll to next week, profit of $972,000. Good job, FBY. Unfortunately, if they would have, hindsight's 2020, if they waited till today, they'd have paid pennies to close them out. But 50 cents, not bad when you collected $5. All right, FBY is part of Group B. They declare in 5 days, so this coming Wednesday. So that means on Sunday I will do a look over how they did for the entire month, and we will make a guess or a guesstimate on what the distribution will be this coming week. They've got July 18th, $660 strike on their synthetic. It's currently worth $9 million or 88 cents per share. 173 million managed in the fund. I think I already said that. Okay. All right. GOOY covering Google. They had trades that we haven't talked about yet on Thursday and Friday. So they went ahead and closed the 185s for 4 cents and opened them for the following week at 180 for $1.20. Closed their 182.50s for 7 cents. Opened 180s again for $1.36. So yesterday they profited $436,000 rolling to this week or next week. And then they had some more left over that they went ahead and rolled today. So closed them out for 6 cents, actually rolled them up to 180 and collected $1.05. So a $244,000 profit. All right, this is a Group A fund. So if you have GOOY, GOOY, you got a distribution today deposited in your account. So did you buy more? It was probably a good day, right? It went down a little bit. There's $122 million being managed in the fund, 10 million outstanding shares. Synthetics currently underwater, so it would cost about $2.5 million to close it out. It's a July 18th 180 with Google sitting at 174.67. I'm sure they'll get up over that 180 between now and July 18th, so not a lot to worry about. All right, getting into the last two. MSFO, again, had trades on Thursday and Friday. It's a shame, right? 472. So they closed these 472.50s out yesterday, paying 763 per share. If they would have waited till today, they would have only cost about $3 a share. But hindsight's 2020. So they lost 54,000 yesterday rolling, and then they only rolled 100 contracts. The bigger portion, 1,000 and 1,530 contracts. They waited till today. They closed them out for 30 cents a share and 15 cents a share, collecting $219 and $268 for a profit of $452,000. They're a Group C fund. Next declaration is in 12 days, so not this coming Wednesday, but the one after that. 7 million outstanding shares, 127 million being managed in the fund. Another synthetics that's doing well. They have a July 18th 435 with the current price at 474. That's worth almost 12 million or $1.69 a share if they cashed it out. And as you can see, boy, these were real tight before they closed them out. 0.01 cents out of the money, or percent out of the money. All right, and finally, NFLY. Again, NFLY had a couple trading days this week. So after rolling last Friday, on Tuesday, they closed some out and rolled them to keep them within the same week. So that was actually, a win. It was because Netflix dropped so much. We already talked about this, though. So they profited 54, getting aggressive. Then yesterday, the only reason yesterday was a loss of 85,000 was because more people bought into the fund. So they added to their synthetic position, and I believe it's doing well. Yes, the synthetic's doing well. So then when you try to add to it, you're buying calls that are already in the money rather than at the money. So it cost a good portion. But then they closed out the 1265s and rolled them to next week for 1255s, paying 30 cents, collecting $6. So it would have been if nobody bought into the fund, it would have been a big win yesterday. So they don't care about taking a loss on adding to the synthetic. But in any case, $85,000 loss yesterday. And then the rest of the rolls today, closing out their 1265s and their 1230s, paying 4 cents and 33 cents, and selling 1222.50s and 1232.50s for $919 and $821, profiting over $500,000. All right, NFLY is also part of Group C, so another 12 days till declaration. About $160 million being managed in the fund with 8.7 million outstanding shares. Synthetic, again, is doing well, worth $10.5 million. It's out till July 18th, and it is for Netflix at $11.40. With all these, as you can see, out of $159 million, the vast majority of it is sitting in treasuries, safe, so they use a small portion to make the money to pay us out. All right, that's it. That's all I got for the video. So if you made it this far, I appreciate you watching. Please give it a like if you liked it. Leave a comment. I'm pretty good about responding to all comments. And subscribe if you haven't already. So dad joke of the day, if you just watched the Ulti video. I apologize again. Putting this together so late. It's almost midnight. I didn't come up with 2 jokes, so I only have the one off my calendar my kids got me for Father's Day, last Father's Day. I don't know. Maybe it was Christmas. But anyway, what was Sherlock Holmes' favorite protein source? Mystery meat. All right. Have a good weekend. Hope you had a great trading day. And so look forward to week look-ahead videos and guesstimates on the distribution coming this weekend, as well as on Saturdays. I just make a video covering all the trades that I personally made this previous week. So if you're interested in that. Okay. Have a good one. Good night.